Rebuilding trust in a united Nigeria. Professor Patu told me I wished to add a slight bend to that theme because this is a media event taking a closer look at the role of the media in achieving this trust. Believing that trust does not exist in a vacuum. Refer to what we call emotional bank account. Before you can trust somebody, you must be willing to go all the way with that person. It's like a marriage. So what has been the error in the Nigerian environment where trust is missing, where more than 100 years we are still talking about missing unity? Growing up, we were made to believe if a child is grown up to be 15 years and is still crawling, what you should have done at the age 1 or 9 months is considered to be an imbecile. Nigeria's amalgamation took place more than 100 years ago, and we are still in search of unity, which has eluded us for more than 100 years. Something basically must be wrong, and it's our hope that this platform, in contributing both from the panel and the audience, green lights will come forth to show us the missing links in the unity of Nigeria. Because of the work at Center for Values in Leadership, where I come from, we've identified strongly that the major challenge we have in the environment is the question of leadership. Failed leadership. There was strong hope at independence based on the population of Nigeria and the natural endowments that Nigeria was going to become a very big, robust economy. But the leadership that evolved immediately after independence was not able to midwife this aspiration. So we ended up with failed leadership. And the crisis was compounded by the entry of the military into the environment, which did not allow the political structures or institutions to really grow. So till today, we are yet to really point to a strong structure of a political party to drive our democracy. Without such institutions, we'll just be groping in the dark. Why is leadership necessary? Without leadership, every other human endeavor hangs on failure. Because you don't have a leader that has foresight, that has vision, that could see tomorrow today and be able to convince others to look the way of tomorrow today, then we are all be groping in the dark. That's what gave credence to that popular statement that when there is no vision, the people perish. So in our environment, we need leaders to be thrown up who could drive the wheel of progress of Nigeria. And we've attempted military, we've attempted several civilian, and there's still no credible platform. CVL would like to put forward, through Professor Patu Tomi, that what we need in the search as we get prepared for 2019 is a leader that is uncompromising concerning service, commitment to transparency, and one that has a broad global outlook, what I will call cosmopolitan orientation, that can easily see the dimension of local and international issues and policies on the domestic fortune. If you don't have such a leader in place, then there will still be challenges. Because we have leaders who did not bargain for the economic boom that Nigeria faced with the discovery of oil. And it was clear to us that they could not manage the resources that came and passed through this economy. So, beyond passion to lead, the lesson of today is that we need people with knowledge. The skill set has to be perfect. It's not a question of just, I have passion to lead my state, to lead my local government, to lead the nation. If that skill sets are missing in you in terms of knowledge, then we remain an imbecile. God help us. In terms of our performance, we'd like to take a look at what has been the experience politically. There are 6 pillars structured by United Nations, and permit me to point them out to see why we are not able to move forward. There are 6 pillars set up by United Nations and World Bank through which dimensions of governance are usually measured, just like the Human Development Index. Voice and accountability. Voice belongs to the people. Accountability rests on the followers and the leadership. We are all guilty of this crime because every 4 years during the political environment, we all go back to the polls to elect the same set of people. We let them fold our hands, go to sleep. 4 years, we come back again complaining. But unfortunately for us, it's the same set of people that still roll back to power. So the followership we need now to sit back and really examine ourselves. Have we done that which is needful? We have voice, we have our votes. Are we able to use the voice and the votes to effect the changes that will bring progress to our environment? The answer from the results we've had since 1960 is 0. Accountability. When Nigeria, I'll see Nigeria as a case of an absentee investor. You set up an enterprise and you go to sleep. Of course, what will wake you from that slumber is liquidation. We have elected people into offices and then we go to sleep. There's no monitoring, no evaluation of what they do. In nearby Sierra Leone, before Sierra Leone went to conflict, the act in Sierra Leone directs the local governments in Sierra Leone to publish the minutes and budget of each local government on the notice board of the Secretariat of the Council. Citizens are free to walk in there to read the minutes and judge what actually the elected councillors discuss. Same thing with the budget. It's open. I believe now with internet, this will be on the net. It's part of what we call citizens engagement. Here it is still missing. We let our people and then we go to sleep. And we expect them to do magic. Knowing fully well the attitude of those who are elected into office, of course, you cannot have anything better from the people elected. They don't feel accountable to anybody. A study has shown that part of the impunity concerning fleecing of public funds is that most of the states don't generate enough money from the people they rule. So the money being stolen is actually money collected from the federation account. So the elected leaders don't really feel obliged to report back to the electorate. If they are collecting taxes and consume the taxes in the wrong way, I'm sure all of us will stand up to fight. So that brings to fore the need to look at our fiscal responsibilities and structure in the federation. There's also political stability. It could be military, it could be civilian. When the military is in power because the military rule by force and is a central command, there's usually no challenge. But the moment we move into political environment, Nigeria dipped south concerning political instability because of friction between the political organizations that wanted to take power. Government effectiveness. Every annual review by the World Bank, by the UN, Nigeria continues to go south. Government has not been able to meet the aspiration of the people. Same thing with regulatory quality. That's the 4th pillar. INEC is expected to do this very well. But until the last election of transition from one party to the other, that is Jonathan losing to Buhari, most other elections in the history of this country from 1959 had always ended up in chaos or friction. So have not done very well. The rule of law, the expose that came from the judiciary in the last couple of months does not give somebody comfort that all is well. The initial concern have been on the private sector when it comes to international investment. Foreign investors are weary of doing business in Nigeria because when the partnership breaks down, the Nigerian works free, the case could be in the in court for the next 10, 15 years, it's the foreigner that suffers. So this is the bar direct foreign investment. But same thing now has rolled into politics. Some people lose the election, they go to court, they get justice a few months to the end of the 4-year tenure of the person that wrongly got into office. We have a long list in the Senate. We've had that in some governorship election, we've had it. That the governor has served for more than 2 years before he got judgment. That does surely not augur well for a viable democracy. And of course, control or corruption. The mantra that seems to have defied the Nigerian both political and economic environment. Well, one will not end up this presentation with a tirade of negatives. As media practitioners, we need to challenge ourselves. What is the role of the media? The media played a very powerful and influential role in getting the colonial masters to vacate Nigeria. That would be considered to be developmental and positive. How did we lose our strength in being the true watchdog of society? The incumbent of the media to do is so searching. Where did we get it wrong? Why was the media powerful and influential in the past, and today nobody reckons with the media? No Nigerian newspaper prints up to 100,000 copies a day. This paper has taken a look at the what they call World Association of Newspapers, that gives information on country by country. China has the largest daily circulation, 98.7 million. All papers in Nigeria combined don't get up to 1 million for a nation of more than 170 people. So the influence of the media is shallow in that regard. Japan has 88.9 million. No, sorry, India 88.9 million, Japan 69.1, and USA 52.3 million. Definitely the in-house challenges cripple the strength of the media these days. Talk of weak technology, content distribution, shrinking capacity of audience and readership arising from weak purchasing power of these people. Poor funding reflects in paucity of circulation figures and mortality rates of newspapers and magazines. Weak legal framework. In spite of the Freedom of Information Bill, the journalist of the independent newspaper has just been released after a lot of noise within the environment. This shouldn't really happen. And then I would like to add poor institutional memory in the media as a result of shortage of professionally trained manpower. Anybody can become a journalist today, no matter your academic background. So NUJ, Guild of Editors, need to address this issue. And this affects the quality of reportage. If there's no thorough training, the output will be questionable. That's why it's so easy for politicians and business people to point accusing fingers at the media, believing that every media story is sponsored. There's so searching and internal control, I'm sure we can minimize this. Some have not spent up to 5 years, they are already editor-in-chief. Because they just jump 9 months from one newspaper to the other, within 5 years, they are up there. There's nothing wrong in moving, but when it comes to leadership and taking control, you cannot shortchange experience. I've mentioned that we need leaders that are capable of seeing tomorrow today and able to open the eyes of others to the way of tomorrow. Uncompromising sense of service and transparency, and others-centered in managing state resources. When you have a man or woman with that heart of others, possibility of stealing, diverting state resources for personal use or family use will be extinct. Knowledge-driven and at home with policy intelligence, in addition to being cosmopolitan in orientation, in order to appreciate the dimension of domestic and international issues of Nigeria's aspirations. This cannot be compromised if Nigeria truly wants to move forward. We're also looking for a leader that is capable of driving national debates on the path of growth and development. Such a leader, of course, needs knowledge. And this is what we should search for in leaders that will come. And finally, for leaders and followers, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin to talk more on issues that unite us and less of issues that divide us as a people. I just want to share a perspective, particularly concerning challenges of employing Nigerian graduates. This has become a national question, and our organization took it upon ourselves last year, October, to organize what we tagged a CEO Summit, where we brought 200 chief executive officers of SMEs and large companies to Oriental, 4 points by Sheraton. And we also brought in first entry managers, those who have just finished NYSC and have already secured employment. And then we had another percentage of people who are still going in for jobs to come and face the chief executives and ask the basic question: why am I not employable? Tell me to my face. Very interesting revelations came out. The employers raised questions concerning the background of many of the graduates that have passed through their testing or interview sessions. One particular manager said he had to go back to the university he attended and discovered that the curriculum still being taught was what was used for him as an undergraduate 11, 14 years back. Industry technicalities has moved beyond that. Technology has taken banking totally beyond what was finance and banking 14, 15 years ago. But what has the response of industries and big businesses to this? A company like Nigerian Breweries, their human resources director chaired that summit, said what they have done in support of Nigerian graduates is to establish what they refer to as a finishing school. When the fresh graduates are recruited, they are not deployed immediately into the system. They go through the finishing school for about 12 to 18 months, fully paid before they can be deployed. This is a cost to businesses, and not every business can afford this cost. So instead of employing 100 staff at the start of the year, because of this challenge, they end up employing about 30 or 35. And this was amount to the large number of people unemployed in the system. President Langida, in his days, for what we call no-brain politicians. We thought we were going to take over at that time. I'm talking of mid-80s, that young people would take over because there was a ban on all old politicians. So the field was open to us. We formed a club, tagged September Club. And the mission of that club was to recruit as many professionals as possible. Because we had one clear understanding that the political landscape is so wide. But just like His Excellency alluded, there are very few positions for elected officers. All the local government chairmen, National Assembly, State Assembly, all over the country, they don't number up to 40,000. But like I said, we are all politicians. More than 16 million votes got President Buhari into office today. But elected officials number less than 50. That tells the story. That the greater part of the political play rests with us. Not every politician have to contest election. If you are not contesting election, then you don't really require the money. What you need to offer is what the Excellency has addressed, and that is be a resource manager provider. If educated people, professionals get into political parties, they will offer their services. As an accountant, as a lawyer, as a quantity surveyor, you upscale the quality of discussion and debate at political meetings. But that does not make you to go and contest election if you are not really interested in it. If that means it's open invitation to all of us to do our best to join one political party or the other and not remain as bench warmers. If you are active, if you are 200 in a meeting and everybody is enlightened, you want to look at the quality of chairman that will come from your group to become chairman of local government. Same thing, you'll be concerned about who imagines as your senator. But when we fold our hands and leave the field open, then anybody can become a senator, anybody can become your chairman, and you have no choice but to surrender to them at the end of the day. For our own work at CVL, we advocate strongly that integrity is never built at the top. Integrity is built at the family beginning level. It starts from the family, from the home. In our environment, in our designing do we really monitor those who are voting into office? If you don't ask questions, people will tell us that our culture avoids questioning elders. Somebody wants to be a leader, you should not ask questions. Even we don't talk to some elders and look them in the face. But we advocate today that culture has to be dynamic. Only last month when we had the annual lecture, the issue of culture and development came on the table. President Olu Obasanjo addressed that question squarely. He said, when was the military head of state and crash helmets was about to be introduced, a particular governor for Kano opposed the approval of federal law mandating every motorcycle rider to wear crash helmets because of the dress code. You have to ban on your head. There's no way crash helmets can fit into it. He said he was quick and fast to respond to that governor at the meeting. That does your culture allow you to drive motorcycle? Because the culture of Kano is to drive camel or horse. If you modify your culture to drive motorcycle, then you must accept the crash helmet that goes to motorcycle. Otherwise, go back to trekking on foot or riding camel or donkey or horse. So the culture has to become dynamic. We should not allow culture to hold us hostage. Let us as followers examine thoroughly and screen properly those that will emerge as our leaders, particularly this opportunity coming up in 2019. It's wrong for you to assume that a minister, a senator will become value-oriented when he gets into office. The answer is no, it's not doable. If the foundation is poor, that's what's going to carry into office. Is Nigeria going to be great? I will say a loud yes, Nigeria will be great. Hope is not lost concerning Nigeria. There have been failures, and the challenge of man or woman is the ability or capability to be able to rise when you fall. In the first half of the 20th century, many African countries became independent, and the hopes were very bright. But we also, that era produced Nyerere, we produced Nkrumah in Ghana, near us here, produced Jomo Kenyatta and co. But the second half of the 20th century saw the collapse of most of these countries. And that's when crisis of confidence and trust started emerging. But we should be quick also to remember that Africa provided the global world the most iconic leadership in the last part of the 20th century, and that's Nelson Mandela. Mandela came out from prison and brought fresh hope to Africa, that Africa can make things happen. A key into Mandela's testimony, and live on that hope. And no matter what has happened in our country, Nigeria can still rise from the ashes of failure.